Hi guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to understand what is the relationship between regions, availability zone, and edge location. Now, this is the first topic in 3.2 task statement, so we can understand each of these components, and then we are going to understand the relationship between them. So to proceed further, so I've given you the world map over here. So let's just say that we will also review the world map in terms of AWS in their website itself. But let's just try to assume that this is your world map. And in this world map, one of the region in your world map is US-East 1. So this is the name of the region, which is customized by AWS to keep it as a region name. So firstly, we'll understand region on this video, and then we'll go to availability zones and then the edge locations. So firstly, let's start with region. What is region? Region is basically, on a general term, talks about a specific location in your map. For example, America is a region. And so, I mean, in America, you have South America, you have North America, which is again region classifications over there. So when AWS wanted to mention regions, so they wanted to make sure that now regions are separated by names over here. Now in this name over here, you can see US East 1. So what this means is that it has the scope of going East 2 and East 3 as well, so that they can actually increase the number of regions within this US East. Now you can see that US has its United States, and you can see the East saying that it is on the east side. So towards the New York side is basically called the east side, and west side is basically Los Angeles and Las Vegas. So those are considered to be the west side or west end of the U.S. And then the central regions are basically Texas and other, which comes in the central region. So likewise, what they have done is, like in the east, they have made it one. This is the first location which the AWS has started with their services with. So this is basically a region called US East 1, which has multiple data centers. So the minimum number of data centers a region should have is 2. So this is the minimum requirement for AWS to have failover and fault tolerance between 2 data centers. So this is the reason why whenever a new region is coming up, they will make sure that that region has at least 2, or 2, or minimum that 2 is maintained as the data centers as part of the region. So data centers is called as availability zone, which we will talk in the next video. Now let's go into the global. If you just go to Google and type global infrastructure. Sorry about my throat. So if someone goes to AWS global infrastructure, and they will be actually going to this website, which is aws.amazon.com, and here you will see a global infrastructure. So once you're in the global infrastructure over here, you can see all this information, like how many regions are there, availability zones are there, CloudFront POPs are there. Now, we will talk in detail about each one of this, so don't worry about it. But do remember that when you are talking about regions, the questions would not be about how many regions are there in AWS. So the questions wouldn't be like that, because regions keeps growing. So they will not be asking you how many regions are there in AWS. So those kind of like number of regions, number of availability zones would not be the question, but they would be asking you what are the minimum availability zones would be part of a region. So this is a mandatory requirement that that AWS fix itself, that it should have a minimum number of 2 availability zones, so that it can do redundancies and fault tolerance in terms of a data center's failure. Now, if you come down, you will see actually highlighted, this is North America. You can see this is South America. You can see this is of East Asia, and then you have West Asia over here. So Asia is divided into 2, as in like it includes Europe, and as well as like your African continent, as well as your Middle East. And then in terms of the I'm sorry, this is West Asia and this is East Asia. Sorry about that. If I've just confused you. So So you can see that over here. So you have regions over here, which is popping up in blue color. I'm sorry, green color. And these are basically regions. So the regions would have a certain set of availability zones, as you can see over here. So minimum I've seen is like two, but I don't see anything with two availability zone these days. Only I see major of them is three availability zone. So this particular region is in Brazil, and this one is in South Africa, and these two are in Australia, as you can see. And this one, they are building up a region which has at least two data centers or availability zones in Auckland. You have one in Jakarta, Indonesia. You have in Singapore. You have in Malaysia. And then there's one coming in Thailand. And you have one coming in Taiwan. Taiwan is basically the Taipei, I guess. That should be the location where it's going to come. And you have one in Hong Kong. And then you have three in China, actually two in China, one in South Korea, Seoul, and you have two in Japan. You have two in India as well. There's nothing much in Russia over here. This region is Russia, Mongolia is like completely empty over here. Neither is these countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, and there's nothing over there. You have one in Bahrain, you have one in UAE, and you have one coming up in Saudi Arabia. So each region, when I highlight it, you can see the number of availability zone. You have one in Tel Aviv as well, which is Israel, and you have one in Ireland, one in the United Kingdom. Now you can see that the United Kingdom also has three availability zones. So more or less everything maintains three availability zone as by default. And you can also see an interesting thing called launch date. So the when this availability zone came into existence, so you can see Ireland one is much earlier than the United Kingdom itself, because I bet it's because of all the land acquisition and building a data center is just a little expensive task in the United States than maybe in the Ireland. So that could have been the reason why it has come up late. So now the only two places where you have more availability zone is basically your US East one, which is your Northern Virginia, and this has like six availability zones. The other one is Oregon. So this one has about four availability zones. So apart from this, I have not seen like which has more availability zone, but this may change in the future. Now, is it better to have more than three availability zone? No, it's not. If you have two availability zone, that would be enough. But three is just to break the balance. When you have two, if you have three, it breaks the balance. So that's why three is more or less preferred everywhere, and that's the default amount. But two itself is enough because you will have the primary data center and you have the backup, a redundancy one, in case the primary data center is going to be having any issue. So these are the regions, and regions has a name. So when you go to the AWS console, you will see all the regions over here. Some are enabled for you, some are not. So if you can see that there are 13 regions which is not enabled for my account. So I can just middle click on it. Okay, so middle click didn't work. So you just go to the bottom of this screen and then you click on manage regions. Okay, so now it's gonna load up this screen and you will see the regions which is disabled. Now you can actually enable this region by selecting these regions and clicking on enable button. But I'm not using the region, so I'm just liked it to be disabled. And also those regions which you're not using, you can also disable them. But that's something you cannot do with the default ones. So the default ones which you have out there, it requires you to have the that needs to be enabled by that is enabled by default. So which means that you cannot actually disable them, but you can enable and disable these extra items if your customer base is over here. So that's the reason why it is not enabled by default. So that's something which you can enable later point of time. But these are the region. Each region will have a name. So you can see that East 1, East 2 is there, and West 1, West 2 is there. So you have East 1, which is your Northern Virginia, and then Ohio. So these are two places in your east side. And then in west side, you have the California, Northern California, and as well as Oregon. These are two locations which you have. So likewise, you have different locations over here, like In Asia Pacific, you have Mumbai, which is AP South 1, and then Hyderabad region will be South 2, I guess, over here. So yeah, AP South to Hyderabad region. So this is up. This is on India. So likewise, they try to use the number to keep increasing it so that they can have multiple regions in the multiple cities. So this will really help them out to globalize and have presence around the globe. Now, as I told you, these are regions. So in the next video, we will understand what are availability zones. Thank you again for watching this video. I'll see you in the next.